Hello. I wanted to talk to you today about free will. I've been studying. Give me a minute. I've been studying the reciprocal system of theory by Dewey B. Larson. It's a pretty revolutionary way of looking at the universe, both the metaphysical and physical universe.
Can you give it to us in a
I'm
nutshell?
not gonna make it really long.
Well, but for the benefit of all of us who have no clue what it is.
The basis for his theory is that this is going to be obvious to you, but the universe isn't built off of material units. That the universe isn't a stage upon which actors are interacting, that the universe is composed of one component only, which is motion. And that the motion has two reciprocal aspects, which is space and time. And that because they're reciprocal, for example, we have three dimensions of space in the spatial realm, which is what we're interacting in. You can have the reciprocal in time, which is three dimensions of time. But it's in a non-localized aspect. And so we
would say that's slightly different.
Okay.
Not so different, but slightly different, using just different words which just tweak it just a little bit. We would, instead of the substance of the universe being motion, we would call it energy. Energy in motion. But there is no way to perceive the motion of the energy if there is not a basis of comparison, which is where space and time come in.
Right. And
so the space and time is the frame in which you are able to observe or discern the movement of energy, which is what motion is.
And that's actually very accurate, because he went on to the concept of motion in his terms was very confusing for a long time and for many other readers, because
he's calling something that because it is the energy that is the basis, energy that does move.
Right, but he was coming from an engineering background, and so the term energy, and he discussed actually why he used motion instead of energy. And it's because energy was too confusing for many scientists. We understand. Whatever.
There are so many words that people have made up their mind what they mean. Right. And when you use them, they go right back to that old premise that isn't what you mean at all.
Right.
But he doesn't mean motion either.
Well, his description of motion was as a sort of a cross ratio between space and time. In other words, the interaction of both, and that's kind of what you're getting at, right?
But look, if you use energy, which you're no longer confused about, if you use vibration or energy, which is the core of all things, and you acknowledge its movement because of its relationship with space and time, now you understand.
And that kind of ties into the what I began with on free will. You use vibration as the basis for the entire universe. In the terms of the reciprocal system, vibration would be considered harmonic motion. And so how do you, because it kind of makes sense. I mean, vibration is movement in a way. How do you marry the two between a harmonic motion that's sort of...
Well, let's take it. It's complicated, so we're going to bring it back to our very rudimentary style of delivery. But let's take this spectrum of vibration that we were talking about earlier, where agony is on one end and ecstasy is on the other. So it's quite a range of frequency. And let's say you're someone walking around sort of dabbling in all of those frequencies. And of course it's not logical because you're leaning one way or another. But let's say you're dabbling in these frequencies, and so what's coming back to you, because law of attraction matches your frequencies, is something very much like that. Now let's say you shorten your range or your wave, whatever you want to call it. There are all kinds of physical words that, as you pointed out, have been used to describe this. But let's say you shorten your sound wave or your vibrational wave to something that is love and appreciation. Now what matches you matches that frequency. In other words, what comes back to you must match that, because what you're putting out is what is coming back to you. That's what law of attraction does to this energy that this scientist is trying to define. In other words, when they begin to understand that which is vibrationally likened to itself is drawn, then they understand why the universe is what it is.
Well, I get that. Yes. I do.
It doesn't feel like it answered where you were going, but it is the basis of where you're going.
I know, and we're working towards it. I know. But to clarify more on the free will end, for example, when I see or when I think about the concept of expansion, I see it as you're in the vortex, and even when you're in that upper band where things are really going well most of the time or all of the time, and just little niggler things come out at you, it's still a motion from being in the vortex to something that kind of pulls you out, and then you notice it and get back in. It's sort of a harmonic motion between where you would like to be and where you are.
So you could exercise your free will. In other words, law of attraction is summoning you to where you have been practicing it, but you could use your free will to focus yourself to a place that you prefer.
Correct. So we have that. And now the base, for example, the universe isn't just a static. It's not a bubble that's containing a whole bunch of stars and galaxies and people and whatever. It's the natural datum, so to speak, for the universe is expansion at the speed of unity, and I liken that to being source. But he describes coagulation or gravitation of objects, or the coming together from law of attraction of like things as sort of a direction reversal. And myself and a couple of other people have revised that thought from direction reversal, which didn't have a specific mechanism behind it, to being as we're sort of talking about, more of an inspired. It's a uniform motion, and being an inspired motion to another position. And so, my question about free will is, if free will doesn't have a random, like you don't randomly choose to make something. You're inspired to a choice, and so or you're inspired to a choice, and so.
Let us ask you a question, and then we'll take. And we think this will sort of get to where you're going. So, if you believed that you as a consciousness, whether you're a particle out there in that universe that you were describing, or a human here focused in your environment, do you believe that through your experience to life and through your launching of your rockets into your vortex, do you believe that the source within you and that the vortex itself, that it holds things that are pleasing in nature to you? Indeed. Do you believe that? So you believe that through the living of your life, no matter who you are, even if you're a one-celled organism or a particle that hasn't even been identified in scientific terms, that through the living of life that you have put into your vortex the best of that which you have been able to conclude, and you're telling us that you believe that your source holds that picture and holds that idea.
Yes.
And you believe that it's something that you would call pleasing to you when you find it, when you discover it.
Yes.
So what do you think about the idea of us calling the epitome of free will being the vortex which holds the ultimate expansion of well-being that it's been deciphering from all that exists and summoning you toward it, and that as you gravitate toward that, in other words, on the one hand, it might not feel like free will. The vortex is spinning and it's calling you in regardless of what you're doing. And eventually, we always say, eventually you're going. You may not be going willingly, so you may have a life of resistance, but eventually the well-being will win out and you will be in the vortex. Eventually that will be the experience. And so through the terms that you are describing here, we would like to state that the free will that you're reaching for is the ultimate and eventual alignment that always happens, because what's in the vortex and the well-being that is spinning there is always summoning unto itself. It's a discussion that is so technical, and so are you interested? It's a discussion that we should have in a smaller setting. But we were eager to have the conversation with you because the basis of the universe is vibration. And vibration is controlled, isn't the right word, is engineered, is a better word, by the powerful law of attraction, which says frequencies that are in vibrational alignment come together. And that's what as the scientists are discovering the way the universe is formed, is exactly the pattern of what's happening. In other words, the energies that are coming together must be the same. And that's why as your earth comes together, that's why the components that were gathered were vibrationally in alignment, and that's why the mass has resulted from something that you would like to call space and massless.
Right, the non-localized aspect of it in the temporal region, which is finally finding a localized representation in space. I get all of that. I guess what I'm caught on is if and it's kind of what I've been caught on.
If you'll give us one clear question, we'll give you one clear answer. This is the moment for it.
Yeah,
just spit it out.
I have one for you then. Does the law of attraction actually have the ability to attract something different than itself?
No. And that's what we were getting at. That's what we were saying to you is you've all that's why it is accurate to call it free will, because even before you knew what you were doing, you were putting the best of what you wanted there, and the best of what you're wanting is always calling you home. So law of attraction will always call you to who you really are. So your exercising of free will is always returning to that which you have created. This is a big conversation, but
so it's the law of one.
You could say that
because
as well.
it's just a constant return to unity, correct?
That would be accurate if everything that were being created was identical, but it isn't. If all universes were identical, but it isn't. So
a unity of self, then I guess.
That is accurate.
Okay.
If you're willing to leave everyone else out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
Good time for a segment of lunch.